Welcome to another episode from Layers in Art. Today we take a look at a beautiful display of color, detail, and emotions in Frederic William Burton's The Meeting on the Tourette's Stairs. An absolutely enchanting image that hides a story of tremendous pain and love unfulfilled. But first, let's find out a bit about the author, Sir Frederic William Burton. He was a 19th century Irish watercolor painter who started gaining acknowledgement especially for painting miniatures. Burton was born in Ireland, in County Wicklow, in 1816 to a middle-class family. His father was also a painter. After a brief period of learning the basics of his chosen craft in Dublin, the young Burton would soon start to work and exhibit professionally, becoming a member of the Royal Hibernian Academy in Dublin. After this, he went on to further complete his education in England and then in Germany to study the old masters of painting. He stayed for several years in Bavaria, where he was chosen by King Maximilian II to be his court painter. In the late 1850s, he moved to London, where he met the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood painters, Edward Burne-Jones, John Everett Millais, Dante Gabriel Rossetti, and William Holman Hunt. The subject chosen by the pre-Raphaelite group was similar to Burton, characters and stories from mostly medieval legends or mythological and biblical scenes. While in London, where he remained for the rest of his life, Frederic William Burton was given the role of head of the National Gallery by the Prime Minister William Gladstone in 1874. His role in the gallery was pivotal. Because of his decisions and hard work, the National Gallery acquired masterpieces by Botticelli, Piero della Francesca, Van Dyck, Da Vinci, or Velázquez. The gallery was enriched by a number of around 500 valuable works of art during his mandate. He was also awarded a knighthood in 1884 for his contribution in the art field, but also for his role in organizing the National Gallery in London. What makes The Meeting on the Tourette's Stairs stand apart? The Meeting on the Tourette's Stairs, first of all, stands by the fact that it's entirely painted in watercolor, which is surprising because at first sight you might be rightfully inclined to think it's an oil painting. Burton, from early on in his career, could not paint in oil because he couldn't stand the smell of oil painting and turpentine, so he chose watercolor instead. The painting was acquired by the National Gallery in Dublin in 1900 from a private collection, and you can see it on display only for 2 hours a week on Wednesdays and Sundays because of the frail nature of water pigments and their sensitivity to light. The painting won the title of Ireland's favorite painting in a public poll conducted by the National Gallery of Ireland in 2012, and it remained known by this title. The subject matter is inspired by a medieval Danish ballad called Helelil and Hildebrand, or in another version called Hagbarth and Signy, which Burton painted in 1864. His friend at the time, Celtic scholar Whiteley Stokes, translated it for Frasia's magazine in 1855 under the name Helelil and Hildebrand. The Meeting on the Tourette's Stairs catches a brief, fleeting moment between two lovers hours before chaos erupts to tear their lives apart forever. Helelil is a princess or a noblewoman that fell in love with the knight Hildebrand, one of her 12 guardsmen appointed to her by her father. Her family found out about their affair which left Helelil without her virtue. As a consequence, they set out to kill Hildebrand for tarnishing her name. The moment that they had their final ever meeting is what we see in this painting. Hildebrand was on his way to fight Helelil's brothers, and his fate was uncertain. So they share a brief moment of affection that was so sublimely caught by the painter before they would be separated forever. According to the ballad, Hildebrand managed to kill Helelil's father and all her brothers, and when he was about to kill the last one, her youngest brother, Helelil shouted and begged him to spare him. Distracted by the plea of Helelil, Hildebrand receives a last fatal blow from her brother and dies. As for Helelil, she was tortured by her mother and brother and banished, ultimately dying of a broken heart. In other versions, the ending may differ, but Helelil living out her days in loneliness, banished from home and consumed by sorrow. Given the fact that Burton had a troublesome eyesight and could not work for long periods of time because of it, the intricacy of the smaller details is truly astonishing. From the well-documented garments of the characters and their accessories to small symbols the artist placed throughout the painting, like the white rose crushed on the stairs, a symbol of pure, unattainable love, and also a symbol of innocence lost and love destroyed. It is worth pointing out that the painting doesn't portray a moment depicted in the ballad, but rather a moment that sprung from the painter's imagination. Burton made this intimate and very emotionally charged scene with initially no intention of having it on public display. It was commissioned for a private collector. The intimacy aspect is emphasized by the choice of composition. Burton paints the couple in an angle that doesn't fully reveal their faces. In fact, their hands are more on view in the foreground, meant to underline their passionate but sorrowful last embrace. Hildebrand, on his way to battle, catches Helelil's arm and kisses it in a very tight embrace that gives the image a feeling of eternity. Although her face and body are turned away, Helelil surrenders her arm to be held by her beloved Hildebrand in the secret meeting on the steps. The sorrow is noticeable through her body language by her leaning against the wall in a hopeless and sorrowful pose. The way Burton chose to portray this fleeting encounter raises the story of the two characters to the finest, most refined display of emotion. As I mentioned at the beginning, when living in London, Burton met the members of the Pre-Raphaelite movement and discovered a similar vision in terms of aesthetic ideal and subject of his art. Meeting on the Thread Stairs shares many thematic and stylistic elements with the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, aligned with many of their ideals and artistic practices, particularly in its focus on medievalism, emotional intensity, and symbolism. Also, the exquisite attention to detail. Elements of symbolism in the meeting on the Thread Stairs. The Thread Stairs themselves represent both separation and elevation, a literal and metaphorical distance between the lovers. If we look closer, we observe that Helelil is one step higher than Hildebrand, hinting to her higher social status. The white rose scattered at Helelil's feet symbolizes purity, love, but also fragility and loss. These details emphasize that their love is pure, but it is also doomed and fleeting. The focus on their hands, rather than faces, suggests a connection that is more emotional and spiritual than physical, implying a love that is subtle and unexpressed, emphasizing the restraint and longing that are typical of Victorian romantic ideals. What is your opinion about Ireland's favorite painting? Please write your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, you can like, share, and subscribe so that you won't miss out on the next ones. As always, I thank you for watching and I invite you to join me next time as we unravel another layer in art.